Athletics, the most universally understood of all human endeavors. Because no matter how we may refine our abilities to think and to learn and to create, we are and always will be remarkably coordinated beings, capable of incredible physical performance. Yet, a great moment of athletic achievement has about it a fragile, temporary quality. For some, the moment vanishes almost as soon as it occurs. For others, it repeats over a lifetime until it, too, fades into history. The achievement of sport demands a very special kind of preservation. A home, the United Savings Helms Hall of Fame. Here in the world's finest sports museum and library, achievement that was once legend remains so, and records that stood unbreakable and then finally fell stand again. Here the athletes of yesterday's world take their place among the achievers of today, and the once new and gleaming equipment that was tossed and grasped and ridden and thrown now rests for all to see. We invite you now to come a little way into our hall as we recreate for you the kinds of moments that are celebrated there. In 1864, an Englishman named Charles Law ran the mile in 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Somebody will beat my record, he said, but nobody will ever run a 4-minute mile. He was right. He was right for 90 years. But on May 8th, 1954, another Englishman, a medical student who coached himself, named Roger Bannister, ran the mile at Oxford. There were 4 judges with 4 stopwatches. All of them agreed and shook their watches and waved to the stands. Afterwards, Bannister said, we had done it where we wanted, when we wanted, how we wanted. He had run the mile in 3 minutes, 59 and 4/10 seconds. I was born to pitch, he once said. In his first professional baseball game, he pitched a shutout. Over his major league career, he won more than twice as many games as he lost. In the longest World Series game ever played, he pitched all 14 innings, and he won. He pitched 29 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings in World Series competition. One of the greatest left-handers of all time? Nobody really knows. And the funny thing is, nobody really cares. Because all at once, his pitching career came to an end. For a very strange reason. Pitchers don't play every day, and Babe Ruth had to play every day. Washington Park, Chicago, 1955. A horse race with just 2 horses. Swaps, the winner of the Kentucky Derby, and Nashua, second in the Derby, but since then the top money winner. Willie Shoemaker rides Swaps, and the veteran Eddie Arcaro is aboard Nashua. Ordinarily, Arcaro is a quiet man. Not this time. Nashua breaks on top. 3 times, Swaps and Shoemaker make their move. 3 times, Arcaro and Nashua fight it off. They win going away, and afterwards, Arcaro explains how it happened. Well, he said, I did a lot of yelling. Dreams can be a long time coming true, especially when you're only 14. And for young Maureen Connolly, who lived in San Diego, her dream rested 3,000 miles away at a place called Forest Hills. So at 14, she began to play competitive tennis. And finally, in 1951, she did make it to Forest Hills for the national singles. Not that anyone gave her a chance of winning, but somehow she reached the semifinals and beat Doris Hart. And the next day, on the center court, she beat Shirley Fry. Dreams can take time. This one didn't. Little Mo Connolly had won the women's singles at the age of 16. Berlin, 1936, the Olympic Games. The chancellor of the host nation, Adolf Hitler, says that victory in athletics is essential to his theory of racial supremacy. And one of the visiting contestants has heard all about this theory. He is Jesse Owens, a black man from Ohio. On Monday, August 3rd, he wins the 100-meter dash. On Tuesday, he wins the running broad jump. On Wednesday, he wins the 200-meter race. He breaks 6 Olympic records, and the crowd of 110,000 rises and cheers, all except one man. He rises to leave. Jesse Owens has shown him more than enough. People said he was the greatest coach in basketball history, and they credited one of his players with much of his success. The coach took his team to repeated victories, and the player set league scoring records and captained the team to the national championship. And the crowds chanted, "We're number one." The coach could only be John Wooden, except for one thing. The year was 1932, and the winning team was Purdue, and the player was a 3-time All-American who wore number 13. No, John Wooden was not yet the winning coach. In those days, he was the player.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
The Indianapolis 500, top auto racing event of them all. Its most famous champion, Wilbur Shaw, a native of Indiana who became president of the Speedway after winning the Classic 3 times. Even before his first victory, all the famous auto racing designers clamored to have him drive their cars. And he did. And year after year, he lost. He kept searching for a winning car. He found one. In 1936, Wilbur Shaw finally won at Indianapolis, driving a car he had designed and built himself. New York, a ticker tape parade for an American who became world famous overnight. Who was he? It wasn't a he, it was a young woman. And in all the glory and triumph of that wild reception, she could remember best the moment of almost total silence, when she entered the waters of the English Channel from the French shore in the early morning darkness of August 6th, 1926. 14 hours and 39 minutes later, she stood on the Dover coast. Gertrude Ederle had swum the channel faster than anyone before her, and all of them were men. It was 1911, and 2 young men wandered into the empty football stadium at Cambridge, Massachusetts. They were from the Indian School at Carlisle, Pennsylvania. A Harvard student asked sarcastically, "Are you the team?" "No," the smaller of the 2 replied. "I'm the equipment manager. He's the team." The next day, before a capacity crowd, the Carlisle Indians upset mighty Harvard, and all their scoring, a touchdown, an extra point, and 4 field goals, including the final tiebreaker that traveled 59 yards in the air, was the work of that one-man team. His name was Jim Thorpe. "I got mad," he said afterwards. "They tried to gang up on me." On October 1st, 1951, Bobby Thompson of the Giants hit a game-winning home run off Ralph Branca of the Dodgers in the National League playoff. The most famous home run of all time? No, not quite. 2 days later, in the 3rd and final game of that same playoff, Branca again came in to pitch to Bobby Thompson. This time, it was the 9th inning. And the same Thompson hit a home run off the same Branca. Not just one, but both giant victories in that playoff were won by Thompson home runs off Ralph Branca. Somebody thought to look at the back of Branca's uniform. His number was 13. New Orleans, September 7th, 1892. The first title fight with leather gloves and 3-minute rounds. A fight to the finish, winner take all.
In this corner, from Boston, the heavyweight champion of the world, John L. Sullivan!
You can't even hear the name of Sullivan's opponent, a 5-1 underdog, outweighed by 34 pounds. In the first 3 rounds, he throws only 1 punch, but it breaks Sullivan's nose. And in the 21st round, the knockout.
The winner and new champion, James J. Corbett!
He departed as he arrived, with a linen suit, a straw hat, and a cane. They called him Gentleman Jim.